Welcome to the Glitch Archives. Tonight, we explore a digital enigma that unfolded on screens around the world. For years, a unique webcam feed from Korea captured the attention of the internet, featuring a woman known to viewers as Chip-chan. Her daily life appeared to take place entirely within one room, streaming continuously, day and night, with very little context. What started as an unusual discovery eventually grew into a complex online puzzle, leaving the community with a deep sense of mystery about the person at the center of the broadcast.
The stream itself was a digital anomaly, a constant, voyeuristic window into a private life. The camera, seemingly fixed, offered a static, wide-angle view of a small, nondescript room. Viewers quickly noted the lack of furniture, replaced instead by what appeared to be piles of clothes, garbage, and miscellaneous objects strewn across the floor. This was Chip-chan's world, a cramped and unkempt space where every waking and sleeping moment was inadvertently shared with an unseen global audience.
Chip-chan herself rarely engaged with the stream. Most often, she was observed sleeping, curled up amidst the detritus of her room. Her movements were lethargic, her appearance disheveled. The sheer monotony of the feed was broken only by her brief trips off camera, presumably to use a restroom or obtain food, moments that offered no clarity, only further questions about her circumstances. The persistent, silent broadcast created an unsettling atmosphere, a digital prison witnessed by thousands.
As days turned into weeks, then months, a pattern emerged that sent shivers down the spines of her viewers. Chip-chan, seemingly aware of the perpetual gaze upon her, began to communicate, not through speech, but through hastily scrawled messages on pieces of paper held up to the camera lens. These notes, often difficult to decipher through the low-resolution feed, painted a disturbing picture, claiming an ordeal far darker than mere reclusion.
The messages were cryptic, desperate cries for help from what seemed like a modern-day captive. Her primary assertion, she was being held hostage, controlled by a malevolent force. The words "mind control weapon" appeared repeatedly, alongside accusations of a corrupt cop orchestrating her torment. This was no ordinary reclusive lifestyle. These were the claims of someone under duress, trapped, and broadcasting her silent plea to a world unsure how to respond.
These desperate messages, scrawled on paper and often held up for fleeting moments, became the primary source of communication from Chip-chan. They spoke of a hostage situation, a corrupt police officer named P, and a mind control weapon being used against her. For the thousands of viewers tuned in to her seemingly endless feed, these pronouncements transformed the stream from a mere curiosity into a chilling narrative of potential abuse and captivity, igniting a fervent debate across various online forums.
The unsettling nature of Chip-chan's situation was amplified by another recurring, deeply disturbing pattern: her sudden, unexplained disappearances from the camera's view. For hours, sometimes even days, the stream would show an empty, static room. The silence was deafening, the absence profound. Viewers, already gripped by the mystery, would watch an empty frame, their anxiety mounting with each passing minute, wondering where she had gone, and more critically, if she would ever return.
And then she would reappear. But her returns were often more alarming than her absences. Chip-chan would often stumble back into frame, visibly disoriented, her movements slow and unsteady. On multiple occasions, Observers reported seeing her return with visible bruises, marks on her body, or appearing to be in a state of semi-consciousness, collapsing onto the floor. Each return brought with it a fresh wave of fear and speculation. What horrors was she enduring off-camera?
These disturbing reappearances fueled the belief that her claims of being held hostage were in fact true. The bruises, the periods of unconsciousness, they seemed to be irrefutable evidence of physical harm. The mind control weapon and the corrupt copy theories, initially dismissed by some as delusion, began to gain traction amongst the most dedicated internet sleuths. A dark narrative was unfolding, suggesting a victim being systematically abused and tortured, live-streamed to an unwitting world.
The Internet, a place often criticized for its passive consumption of tragedy, began to stir. The sheer visibility of Chip Chan's plight, coupled with the persistent evidence of her suffering, pushed various online communities into action. Threads dedicated to her mystery exploded on platforms like 4chan and Reddit. Users, driven by a mixture of morbid curiosity and genuine concern, began to pool resources, sharing observations, theories, and fragments of information, all with one goal: to understand who Chip Chan was, and perhaps to save her.
The collective effort of anonymous online investigators became a sprawling, decentralized operation. Users meticulously analyzed every frame of the stream, searching for clues. They scrutinized reflections in the camera lens, tried to identify faint sounds, and even attempted to translate the often obscure Korean text that occasionally appeared on Chip Chan's signs. The goal was singular: to geolocate her, to pinpoint her exact physical location so that authorities could be alerted and intervention initiated. This intense digital manhunt quickly faced formidable challenges. The video quality was poor, intentionally or unintentionally obscuring details. There were no discernible windows or external references in the room that could offer a definitive address. Theories ranged from a basement apartment to a hidden room. Each potential lead, from the style of electrical outlets to faint architectural features, was exhaustively debated and often quickly debunked, leaving the online community frustrated but unyielding.
The inability to definitively locate Chip Chan deepened the mystery, allowing new, more complex theories to emerge. While many remained convinced she was a genuine victim of a brutal kidnapping, others began to question the entire narrative. The persistent mind control weapon claims, alongside the apparent isolation and erratic behavior, led some to consider a darker, more tragic possibility: that Chip Chan was suffering from a severe mental illness, perhaps schizophrenia.
If her suffering was indeed a manifestation of a mental health crisis, then the constant online gaze presented a different kind of horror. Was the internet, in its relentless pursuit of a story, inadvertently fueling her delusions? Were the thousands of viewers, rather than helping, creating a feedback loop, cementing her belief in a conspiracy and an unseen captor? This shift in perspective introduced a profound ethical dilemma, casting a shadow over the very nature of online engagement with human suffering. The duality of Chip Chan's situation became the central point of contention. Was she a victim of a very real physical threat, stalked and held against her will, as her signs claimed? Or was she a deeply unwell individual, her internal struggles amplified and perhaps even exacerbated by the relentless, invasive gaze of the global internet? This question haunted the online community, transforming the investigation into a harrowing debate between intervention and the potential for further harm.
without any clear path forward.
The theory of severe mental illness, particularly schizophrenia, offered an alternative framework for understanding Chip-Chan's bizarre live stream. Delusions of persecution, such as believing one is controlled by external forces or targeted by specific individuals, are hallmark symptoms of such conditions. Her claims of a mind control weapon and a corrupt cop P could, in this interpretation, be the manifestations of a deeply troubled mind struggling to make sense of its reality rather than an objective account of her situation.
If this was the case, the relentless online scrutiny took on a particularly grim dimension. For someone experiencing paranoid delusions, the constant, unseen gaze of thousands of strangers on a live feed could easily be integrated into their existing framework of persecution. The voyeurism, intended by some as a means of rescue, might have instead served to reinforce her belief that she was indeed under surveillance, a subject of control, trapped in a digital panopticon of her own making, fueled by the internet's relentless attention.
However, the ambiguity remained. Despite the plausibility of mental illness, the physical evidence, the bruises, the periods of unconsciousness, could not be easily dismissed. Could it be a combination of both? A vulnerable individual, targeted by a stalker or abuser, whose existing mental health struggles made her an even more susceptible victim and complicated any attempts at intervention. The community wrestled with these possibilities, unable to reconcile the conflicting narratives into a single cohesive truth.
Efforts to involve South Korean authorities were met with significant hurdles. Without a confirmed location, verifiable proof of a crime, or clear cooperation from Chip-Chan herself, official intervention was difficult. The police could not act on anonymous forum posts and grainy webcam footage alone. The digital divide between the online world's alarm and the physical world's legal requirements created a frustrating paralysis, leaving Chip-Chan's fate hanging in a terrifying limbo, watched by millions, helped by none.
The Chip-Chan phenomenon ultimately faded from the internet's forefront, but the questions it raised linger. Was she a victim of a cruel personal torment, or a casualty of her own mind, amplified by the internet's insatiable gaze? Her story remains a stark and unsettling reminder of the blurred lines between reality and delusion in the digital age, a chilling case study in online voyeurism, mental health, and the ethical responsibility of a global audience. The answers, like Chip-Chan herself, remain elusive, lost somewhere in the glitch and static of the archives.
The legacy of Chip-Chan is not just the unanswered questions, but the profound impact her stream had on those who watched. It forced a confrontation with the uncomfortable realities of digital voyeurism, asking where the line lies between observation and intervention. The internet, a tool capable of both immense connection and profound isolation, became a stage for a real-life drama that mirrored the darkest corners of digital fiction, leaving a haunting impression on countless viewers.
Her case exposed the limitations of online communities, however well-intentioned, when faced with real-world crises. Despite the concerted efforts of thousands, the very nature of the internet, with its anonymity and vastness, prevented effective action. The calls for help echoed in a vacuum, unable to bridge the gap to authorities who required concrete evidence and location data. It became a chilling example of collective empathy, paralyzed by the digital realm's inherent barriers.
To this day, Forums occasionally reignite with discussions about Chip-Chan. New theories emerge, old observations are re-examined, but no definitive resolution has ever surfaced. Her identity remains largely unknown, her fate a subject of speculation and digital urban legend. The webcam, once her primary medium of communication and apparent suffering, eventually went dark, leaving only a memory of the woman who slept among trash, pleading silently to a world that watched.
The enigma of Chip-Chan forces us to confront uncomfortable questions about our own roles as spectators in the digital age. When does curiosity become exploitation? How do we differentiate between a genuine cry for help and a tragic descent into mental illness, especially when filtered through the unreliable lens of a low-quality webcam stream? There are no easy answers, only the enduring mystery of a woman whose life became an unwilling spectacle, a modern horror story broadcast live.
The Glitch Archives is dedicated to uncovering these shadows of the digital world. The case of Chip-Chan serves as a stark reminder of the fragile line between observer and participant, and the profound, often tragic, consequences when those lines blur. If you seek to understand the deeper, unsettling truths hidden within the internet's vast expanse, subscribe to the Glitch Archives to access the deeper levels of the archive. Stay vigilant, stay curious, and always question what you see.